riff on a topic. The topic tonight is compassion, and I'm thinking in terms of self compassion. So, what is compassion? Well, compassion is feeling for someone who is going through something and wishing to relieve their suffering. So, I would say that it's always about self first because when we can really feel compassion for ourselves, we have the ability to feel it for others. And we might think, well, no, it feels like it's easier for me to be compassionate for others. But can you really be compassionate for others without being compassionate for yourself first? I question whether or not you can, right? I question whether or not I can. Um, so, how does it work? How has it worked for me? Well, for instance, I am a gym goer and I have been for decades. And I used to use the technique of harassing myself, bullying myself, holding over myself. What can happen to me if I do not go to the gym? The language that I used was really harsh. And I thought, you know what, but this is how I'm motivating myself. This is how I'm getting out of the house in the morning to go to the gym before I go to work. And I didn't think much about it. I kind of laughed it off because I continued to get to the gym. However, the language that I was using for myself, it was actually really harsh. It was not nice. I would not, as a teacher, I would not put up with my students talking to each other that way, and I would not put up with. I never spoke to my son that way. I would not speak to anybody else that way. But I laughed it off when it came to me speaking to myself that way. Now, that was I maybe even thought that that was being compassionate, right? Because maybe I did, because it's important for me to get to the gym and get my workout. No qualms about that, right? I totally agree with that. However, how could I have handled that differently with compassion? Well, I could have spoken kindly to myself. I could have encouraged myself to, okay, maybe you didn't make it today, but we're going to do everything that we can. Go to bed early, pack our things, get up early, and do what we need to do to get out of this house on time. But we're going to try harder tomorrow. We're going to make it happen. You're going to do this. This is for your benefit. How would it have benefited me to just treat myself more kindly? Again, it is much easier to have compassion for others when we have compassion for ourselves first. Bam.